Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the 7 motorcycles no one wants. Number 7, Indian FTR. The Indian FTR came out with plenty of hype, marketed as a flat-track-inspired street bike with aggressive styling. But in the US, it quickly turned into one of those motorcycles that looks good on posters, yet struggles badly on showroom floors. Dealers still try to move leftover models by slashing prices, but the demand just isn't there. At the heart of the FTR sits a 1,133 cm VWIN engine producing about 120 horsepower. While that sounds strong, the execution feels mismatched. The bike carries a lot of weight, close to 520 lb, and the throttle response is jumpy. At lower speeds, the pricing didn't help either. The Indian FTR rolled into U.S. dealerships starting near $13,000, and higher trims easily reached $15,000 or more. At that price, many riders lean toward established naked bikes which carry more prestige and stronger resale. Another issue is the small fuel tank, which cuts range to under 150 miles in real-world riding. For American riders who want to travel longer stretches, that is a deal breaker. Combine that with limited aftermarket support compared to Harley or Triumph, and the FTR ends up being an expensive experiment few people want to commit to. Overall, the Indian FTR is a bike that had potential but missed its mark. Dealers have learned this the hard way, with unsold models stacking up and heavy discounts becoming the only way to move them. Number 6, BMW K1600B. The BMW K1600B was introduced as a bagger aimed squarely at the American touring crowd, but it has not found the success BMW hoped for. Dealers across the U.S. continue to struggle with unsold stock as riders either lean toward traditional Harleys and Indians or avoid the high sticker price altogether. This machine packs a 1,600 cm inline-6 engine producing around 160 horsepower with smooth delivery. While that sounds impressive, the reality is that most bagger buyers in the U.S. don't prioritize horsepower. They want comfort, character, and a strong dealer network. The pricing is one of the biggest roadblocks, starting around $22,000 and climbing closer to $30,000 with options. The K1600B sits in the premium tier. For that money, American buyers overwhelmingly choose a Harley Street Glide or an Indian Chieftain, both of which hold value far better. Styling has also been a sticking point. The bike's stretched lines and futuristic look don't appeal to the traditional cruiser market in the U.S., leaving it without a clear audience. Overall, the BMW K1600B is a motorcycle with engineering excellence, but little emotional pull. For American riders, that lack of connection is why dealers are stuck, begging riders to take one home. Number 5, Suzuki Boulevard M109R. The Suzuki Boulevard M109R was once marketed as a power cruiser with serious muscle, but today it has become one of the hardest bikes for dealers in the U.S. to sell. It's big, heavy, and intimidating, and the market for a bike like this has shrunk to the point where leftover models are gathering dust in showrooms. The M109R is powered by a 1,783 cm VWIN engine producing around 125 horsepower. While it has plenty of raw grunt, the delivery is not smooth, and combined with a curb weight of over 760 lb, the bike feels more like a handful than a thrill. Price is another sticking point. The M109R has sat in dealerships at around $15,000 brand new, which puts it in direct comparison with Harleys that offer stronger brand pull and much higher resale. Once it rolls into the used market, depreciation hits hard. Clean examples can be found for as low as $7,000, and even then they sit unsold because the pool of buyers is so small. The styling, once bold and futuristic, has aged poorly as well, with its bulky rear tire, oversized tank, and flashy bodywork. It looks like a bike locked in the mid-2000s era of power cruisers. Today, most American buyers prefer either stripped-back retro machines or long-haul tours, leaving the M109R stranded without an audience. Number 4. Indian Chief. The Indian Chief is one of those bikes that on paper should have been a major competitor in the American cruiser market, but in reality, it hasn't lived up to the expectations, and dealers often find themselves cutting prices just to move them out of the showroom. Despite its heritage nameplate, the Chief hasn't managed to carve out a real identity among today's buyers. It carries a 189 cm Thunderstroke VWIN engine, making around 76 horsepower and 120 pounds-feet of torque. While the numbers sound respectable, the Chief struggles with weight, tipping the scales at over 760 pounds. On the road, that heft takes away much of the fun factor, especially for riders who want a cruiser that feels manageable in daily traffic. The Indian Chief has started in the $14,000 range, with higher trims climbing well past $17,000. At those figures, buyers often turn to Harley-Davidson alternatives that carry stronger resale and a more established community. Styling is another divisive factor. The Chief blends modern minimalism with touches of classic cruiser design, but it doesn't capture the same timeless appeal that Harley continues to sell successfully. Overall, the Indian Chief has the specs and the history to matter, but in today's U.S. market, it has become a cruiser that few actually want. Number 3. Triumph Rocket 3. The Triumph Rocket 3 is a motorcycle built around extremes, boasting the largest production engine of any bike in the world. Yet, despite the raw numbers, it has become a model that U.S. dealers can't seem to move without heavy discounts. Instead of dominating the market, it has ended up as a niche machine that very few riders actually want to commit to. Its three-cylinder engine is a staggering 2,005 cubic cm, pushing out around 165 horsepower and eye-watering 163 pounds-feet of torque. While those figures make for wild bragging rights, the Rocket 3 tips the scales at over 760 pounds, and that makes it intimidating both to handle and to own. The pricing lands in a tough spot, too, with price starting near $23,000 and creeping well over $25,000 for certain trims. The Rocket 3 is an expensive gamble. Styling also divides opinions. Its oversized proportions, chunky tires, and futuristic cruiser look don't fit neatly into either the American cruiser scene or the sport touring segment. Overall, the Triumph Rocket 3 is a technical marvel that turns heads but fails to turn into actual sales, leaving it as a motorcycle that feels more like a showroom centerpiece than a ride people genuinely want to take home. Number 2. Indian Scout Bobber. The Indian Scout Bobber was marketed as the lame, stripped-down version of the Scout, meant to capture younger riders, but in the U.S. market, it hasn't taken off the way Indian hoped. Dealers across the country are stuck with stock they can't move unless they throw in discounts. And even then, buyers often hesitate. It carries a 1,133 cubic cm liquid-cooled VWIN engine, making about 100 horsepower. On paper, that's plenty, but in practice, it feels mismatched with the bike's cruiser build. The Scout Bobber is low and compact, and that sporty motor doesn't mesh well with the awkward ergonomics. For short rides, it feels fine, but once you stretch past an hour in the saddle, the aggressive stance becomes tiring and takes away from what many cruiser riders are looking for. The price hasn't helped its case. Brand new, the Scout Bobber has been listed around $13,000. which planted directly in competition with Harley-Davidson's Sportster lineup. Buyers know the resale value on Harleys is stronger, and that alone often sways the decision. On the used side, Scout bobbers dip into the $8,000 range, but even at that point, they can sit for weeks without a serious buyer, showing how soft the demand has become. Overall, the Indian Scout Bobber is a motorcycle that promises a lot, but struggles to deliver on what cruiser buyers actually want. Number 1. Harley-Davidson Nightster. The Harley-Davidson Nightster was introduced as part of Harley's attempt to modernize its lineup and bring in a younger audience, but the gamble hasn't paid off. In the U.S. market, dealers have been left with bikes gathering dust, often needing to offer deep discounts or financing deals to move them out of the showroom. The Nightster runs on Harley's Revolution Max 975 centimeter liquid-cooled VVN, producing around 90 horsepower. While that's a step forward compared to the older Sportster models, the delivery doesn't quite hit the sweet spot. Riders looking for traditional Harley character complain that it feels too refined and lacks the signature rumble, while those coming from Japanese or European bikes find the performance underwhelming for the money. That middle ground identity has made it tough to find a loyal buyer. Base price is another issue that works against it, with a starting figure near $13,000. The Nightster competes directly against Harley's own iron models on the used market and plenty of Japanese cruisers that cost thousands less. The Nightster was supposed to be Harley's bridge to a new generation, but instead it has left many riders confused. It doesn't capture the soul of the classic Sportster line, and it doesn't offer enough performance to lure away riders who would otherwise look at naked bikes or sport tours in the same price bracket. And with this, we have reached the end of this video. Make sure to like it and subscribe the channel for future upcoming videos.